Hello everyone, and thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Today we're going to be talking about 5 tips for new firearm collectors. Whether you're looking at antiques, curio and relics, or modern firearms, hopefully you're going to find something useful in this video. These are the 5 things I wish I knew when I got into it, and a lot of them I had to learn the hard way. So without further ado, let's go straight to number 1. Number 1 is going to be to get your hands dirty. Build an experiential relationship with the firearms you collect. Don't just hang them on the wall. Take it down. Shoot it. Take it apart. Carefully try to put it back together without the instructions. Figure out what components do what. Think about the similarities and differences between models. Put them side by side and see, what do they do the same? What do they do differently? Develop these appreciations for the nuances and the intricacies of the design. Desporterize something. Take stuff people have already buggered up and make them better. Find an SKS that somebody's sprayed down in truck bed liner. Strip that off. Refinish it with some facsimile of Soviet amber shellac. Do what you got to do to get the most out of owning something which is designed to be used. Don't just hang it above the mantelpiece and pat yourself on the back. It's not as fun that way. Number 2 is going to be patience. Patience is what tempers out the enthusiasm of getting your hands dirty. Let me give you a couple of examples. First off, anytime you're doing any type of disassembly, repair work, shooting, stuff like that, patience is what keeps you safe. You're using that wrong screwdriver. Patience is what lets you see in advance that screwdriver is going to slip and it's going to gouge, or it's going to bugger up those screw heads and you're going to look like an amateur. Patience is what helps you recognize when you're shooting that bolt action rifle and it feels a little sticky. It feels a little sticky when you're getting that primary extraction. You pull out that case head. Patience is what reminds you to look at that case head and see that flat primer and that bulging brass and to know the headspace shifted. I'm actually in danger right now if I continue to pull this trigger. Patience is what lets you get good deals too. Patience is what allows you to, instead of buying the first FN49 that comes up on Gunbroker, patience is what allows you to wait those 6 weeks until you got exactly the one you wanted at a fair price. Take a deep breath. Patience is going to get you through in a safer and more cost-effective way. Number 3 is going to be humble. And in addition to, of course, being generally good life advice, humility really does go a long way in getting the most out of a firearms collection. Let me try to give an example. There's a lot of mythology and lore and misconceptions which surround various weapon systems and various nations as weapons manufacturers, much of which stems from exoticization, cultural stereotypes, and military experiences, which ultimately permeate the civilian consciousness and create these enduring, if not inaccurate, perceptions. And one of the beauties of collecting firearms and getting hands-on with firearms is that it allows you to develop the experiential knowledge to either confirm, to qualify, or to cut through a lot of those misconceptions. A brief example is the MP5s. I imagined MP5s to be on quality level with Schmidt-Rubin, superior German engineering, and the things they're folded sheet metal. They're not impressively well made at all. The welds on some of them I got buddies who weld better than that. And it's a great design, don't get me wrong. MP5 is a very great design, but the machining is mediocre at best. And it's interesting to learn and to be able to decipher, like, why is that? Why does everyone have this reputation of this being such a masterfully built gun? And going back to World War II it's from American soldiers encountering MP38s and MG34s and some of these firearms which were actually really, really well made, in addition to being terrifyingly effective on the battlefield. So humility is a way to be able to not be that person who keeps repeating those same worn out tropes of the AK-47 never jams no matter what you do. The Mosin Nagant is a sniper's rifle. The M16 is a jamming machine. First-hand experience allows you to evolve through those, and I think many people will find that to be a very rewarding experience. Number 4 is going to be, don't forget to have fun. It's easy, I think, sometimes to lose track of the fact that for most people, myself included, firearms collecting, it's a hobby. It's something that I do to bring myself joy and fulfillment. A lot of people hold that passion their whole lives, and if you've lost it already, then you're doing something wrong, and I advise shaking it up. A story I always go to kind of remind myself if I ever find myself getting in a rut as a collector is of a time when I went to a local pawn shop near where I live in the mountains here, and I was there to see a Brazilian Mauser. I don't even remember, I think it was an 08/34. Pretty cool rifle. And at this point in my life, I still have a lot of Mausers, but at this point in my life, I had entirely too many Mausers. I had a pretty substantial reference collection of Mausers. And basically, I'm there looking at spending a week's pay, a little more than that maybe, on yet another Latin American 7mm Mauser. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this just doesn't quite feel right. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to get that buzz, that rush that I come to this for anyway. I'm going to take it home and I'll look at it. I'm going to feel some sense of satisfaction. I'm going to put it next to a bunch of other 7mm Latin American Mausers. And then I looked up at the gun shelf and I saw a Rossi 92 20-inch barrel and 44 Magnum. And in case you don't know anything about that, it's a Brazilian commercially manufactured clone of the Winchester 92 rifle. They're not especially well made. They're certainly not especially desirable. But at that point in my life, I'd never shot a Winchester 92. I'd never shot a centerfire lever action rifle before. And I'd never shot a 44 Magnum. And I thought to myself, let's do that one. Went to the range after this anyway. Let me get that. Picked up a box of American Eagle, 240 grain, 44 Magnum. And I got some 44 special cowboy loads as well. And that was one of the most fun range days I've had in years. I had absolutely a blast with that rifle. And then I got to, I did the Steve's guns. I followed a lot of his instructions on tuning it. That was such a hoot. I had so much fun. I have 7mm Mausers that haven't been to the range after test firing, but I bring that Rossi 92 with me. I'm always looking for an excuse to shoot it, and it introduced me to a whole new realm of design. It's a John Moses Browning design. To see that evolution from early Browning to later Browning, and appreciate the platform and get into other pistol caliber lever guns. It reconnected me with my pre-war firearm passion. I kind of specialize on 20th century stuff, but that Winchester 92 clone, man, it reminded me that, hey, don't forget to just bring some life into it, shake things up. If you find yourself getting bored, find yourself getting stressed, find yourself getting stagnant, you're doing it wrong, find something new, have fun with it. Don't forget to have fun. Number 5 is going to be, it's not about the money. So the deeper you get into the collecting game, the more you're going to have experiences with getting good deals, getting bad deals, getting something cheap and then watching its value explode overnight, or buying something when it was more expensive and then watching a wave of imports come in, driving the prices down. And if you get really into collecting, like a lot of us do, it's not going to be too long before you realize you got a lot of money invested in that hobby, invested in that passion. When you start to get too stressed about the money involved, you start making decisions based on what's financially most beneficial to you rather than getting into, what do I really want in my collection? What do I want to shoot that I've never shot before? What am I going to be most happy with? And I'll give you a quick example here. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, where somebody, they wanted a World War II serialized M1 Garand. And in exchange, they were willing to give the most beautiful 1898 Krag I'd ever seen. The most beautiful K31 I've ever seen with a bayonet. Some sealed GP11 to seal the deal. All in all, it was a deal of about value maybe $1,850 for the M1 Garand that I had that met the criteria this person was looking for. Paid $625 for. So I felt like it was foolish of me to do anything other than to take this deal. Just like, I'm losing money not taking this deal. And let me tell you, that was the best deal I've ever made in my life, and I've regretted it every moment since. Because you know what? That was my Garand. It shot well. I loved it. it was a nice rifle. I love K31s. I love Krags, both excellent, accurate shooters. But I miss that Garand, man. Like, it's not about the money. I slept a lot better when I had the Garand rather than when I made 3 times return on a rifle purchase. It's not about the money. Yeah. All right, I hope that was a helpful video to you. If you got any questions, then go ahead and pop those down in the comments below. If you want to see more content like this, then rest assured I will do my best to keep making it, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I was walking home and I realized, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and add a number 6 to this list, and that's going to be to not forget about the human element. And the human element is going to be the direct connection that these firearms, particularly curio and relic and antique firearms, give us to the past, whether that be the history and heritage of our own nation, our own people, or the history and heritage of other nations and other peoples. And there's a whole lot of value that comes with that, a deeper appreciation and connection to self, as well as perhaps empathy with others. And perhaps most importantly in all of it is the remembrance that, particularly in the case of military firearms, sometimes these represent our last links to the forgotten soldiers who have faced annihilation and not come back while carrying these weapons. Sometimes the exact ones that we have in our hands today, and it is an opportunity to remember them, and whether they were aligned with our interests today, or whether they were our enemies, recognizing that they didn't take the flag on their shoulder with them when they died, and they didn't take their guns with them when they died. But it is an opportunity to recognize that those people did walk this earth, and this hobby that we have, well, it can be fun, it can be silly, it can be all of those great things. It is also a living connection to those human beings that came before us.